All right, so let's just get right down to the nitty gritty. Like this is what I'm most excited about this week, and that's it's a little too early to talk about like straight up Oscar picks.
Yeah.
Because for one, we don't know who's nominated because the year's not even over yet. There's still movies that we haven't seen that need to come out. Like there's The Favorite that just doesn't screen in this area for whatever reason.
The Favorite with a U.
Yeah,
like
with a U, so you know it's British.
The British version of it, yeah.
Like there's the Zemeckis film Welcome to Marwen with Steve Carell.
That looks
like
so good.
that's got awards bait written all over it.
There's If Beale Street Could Talk, that hasn't come out yet.
Vice is barely gonna make it, and I mean that's the Big Short. That's from that guy, and he won an Oscar for that film.
Yeah, and I've heard the reviews, at least of Natalie Portman's performance in Vox Lux, if I'm pronouncing that right.
I don't know that you are, but I am aware of the movie.
Yeah. If I'm wrong, just please let me know so I can be corrected.
If I knew, I would tell you. Maybe someone out there does.
There's a lot of good predictions that have come out thus far.
Yeah, it's got a strong showing right now, or it's got a strong rating right now because it has like it's screened at some festivals and stuff.
Oh yeah, and that looks like a film festival type movie that will do well in festivals.
And I'm not sure if this is one that's going to be in the conversation, but just because it was done by Clint Eastwood and he's in the conversation so often, there is still The Mule to come out.
I am strangely very excited for The Mule.
Yeah, just like not sure what to expect from a movie that stars like an 80-year-old like
driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not sure what to expect, but it's Clint Eastwood and just
Baby Driver, it is not.
Baby Driver, it is not.
Probably,
this is
probably like Senior Driver.
This
carpool.
is like Baby Driver's granddad is, still in the game.
Granddaddy Driver.
When he should have gotten out of it a long time ago.
Probably, yeah.
But that's just a couple of the movies that we have not been able to experience yet because of the time that we are recording this. But at the time of this recording, we're going to go over our respective top 5 picks.
Yeah, this is
now
mostly stuff we've seen, right?
And this is stuff that we've seen.
Yeah.
And we've seen an awful lot this year. And let me go ahead and say that the criteria for this isn't necessarily saying, oh, this is definitely what I think is going to win. We don't even have the nominations yet. This is just saying like they deserve to win. I think they have a real shot, and just I want to see it happen. It's a combination of those things. Those are our criteria.
That's one angle. So it's less of an angle what I think the Academy will do.
Well, I mean, like they definitely have a shot goes into that.
Okay.
Like the Academy would nominate something like this.
Yeah.
Like spoiler alert, because we're going to talk about possible snubs in a little bit.
Yeah.
Assassination Nation is not going to get nominated for a goddamn thing.
It's the biggest snub of the year in the fact that no one's seen it at all.
I would love to see it nominated for something, but it's not going to.
Yeah.
So like if you said, oh, well, that's definitely going to be best picture, like get the fuck out of here. No, it's not.
No one's going to vote for that.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But let's just get started right away. And I'm going to lead with this one because I am 100% certain that we both said the exact same thing. So I'm going to count to 3, best original screenplay, author, work. 1, 2, 3. Boots Riley, Sorry to Bother You.
That's a fantastic movie. It's the most original thing I've ever seen. It's so funny and takes so weird directions. If that movie loses one of its main things that works, it wouldn't quite be the same movie. However, it would still be very original because it's got a lot of things going for it.
Oh yeah, like if anybody else were to see that script and say, "Well, I have to make this," and Boots was like, "No, I've got to make this," and he was just like, "Well, here's all the money," and he'd be like, "Well, fine, go make it."
It's one of the crazy, like when we saw it, and we've talked about this before, I didn't speak for like 10 minutes. And I do that because I don't know what's going on. You don't expect something like that. It's good and different.
We have a podcast about it. It's on the channel.
Whole podcast,
go check it out.
Yeah, go listen to it.
We'll wait. We'll be right here.
Yeah. How was it? Did you like it?
God damn it.
That was a good one.
I wanted to break that silence, but I didn't have anything to break the silence.
Hey man, sometimes you need a silence. It's really good.
It's easily the most original concept of the year. Like mentioning Assassination Nation, like that is also a very unique idea, but it doesn't have shit on Sorry to Bother You. Like I can't remember the last time I went to a movie and just not really expecting anything, but definitely not expecting what I saw.
I knew it was going to be we all knew it was going to be weird.
Well,
but we thought we were just seeing a goofy, off-the-wall, slightly absurd comedy
even
about
if it
telemarketing.
was just that.
And I'm telling you right now, in a movie marketed as something about telemarketing, it's not about telemarketing.
It's about a whole lot of things.
So many things.
And like Jordan Peele before him, I definitely I don't know. Like, I'm gonna be pretty upset if he doesn't win, honestly. And I can't say that about every choice that I've made that I've made on this list. In fact, a couple I don't think they're gonna win, but I think they deserve to be nominated at the very least. But that's one where, like, if it goes to somebody else, fuck you.
Yeah.
Boots Riley earned this one.
Yeah.
But now, for moving on, for Best Director, who you got?
Well, I got to pick one. I'll just pick the first one. I'm going to say Damien Chazelle.
Damien Chazelle.
For First Man. I think that was a fantastic story. It was really deep and into the character of who Neil Armstrong is. It takes a very artistic approach into telling that story, both narratively and visually. I don't agree with the visual idea he has. A lot of it's handheld 16 millimeter.
Right.
Which
I was about to mention that.
my own aesthetic doesn't like that. But I'm also the type of guys like, if that's your jam, go jam, you know?
That movie has a lot of strong suits to it. I'm going to get into some of them in a little bit.
It was powerful. I really felt like I understand Neil Armstrong now as opposed to a guy with a quote who went to the moon. And I will say this about that movie. I've seen movies about space travel. I've seen a lot of sci-fi. I've seen a lot of science factual fiction, which is things like Apollo 13 or The Right Stuff, where it's actually based on events. And that is the first movie about space travel in the NASA program that I felt like I know what it was like to go to the moon. I felt immersed.
Yeah, you definitely feel like you're in the craft with the astronauts. And I mean that's a triumph of filmmaking.
Yeah, I think it works that well. It's just good enough, but like I feel like, and he's got like credentials to show that
he's got chops. He's got chops.
He's got chops.
He did like what else was he? Whiplash, La La Land.
La La Land won a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean like the guy's clearly very talented and knows what he's doing. I just think that there's enough weak points in the direction that's what would kill it for me. It's like as strong as this stuff over here was, this stuff over here wasn't as strong, so I wouldn't be able to.
No, that's what I want, but I don't know if the Academy will pick that.
Right. Now, my pick, I don't know for a fact that he'll get nominated, but I definitely believe he deserves to get nominated. And I know that the Academy likes to, they like to shine lights on up-and-coming directors, especially if they've already have a history in the industry. And this one does, and that's Jonah Hill, mid-90s.
I didn't even think about mid-90s. How did I forget about that movie?
It's quite an experience.
That was, we saw that together, right?
Yeah, there was a group of us.
We walked out and we were like, well, that was a hell of a thing. I felt different.
Like, it's not a traditional narrative. It's really more just like a couple of sequences in the life of this kid who's coming of age and learning how the world works and how people outside of his own home work and all that. And just, he's got a lot to learn. He learns an awful lot before the movie's over. And whenever the movie ends, it does just kind of end. Like, narratively, I think Jonah Hill could use some work. But in terms of just getting across, like visually getting across the emotions that he wants you to feel.
Oh, it was perfect.
He was very effective at that for the entire film.
Yeah. Oh, God, that movie is like so dedicated to the idea of what it was to be there at that time.
Oh, for sure.
Even to like, it's like watching a VHS tape.
And we're like, it was like
a full screen, right?
And we got a room full of kids in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Straight up.
We were all kids in the 90s. And that's exactly what it felt like.
We all know what GAC is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard.
Like Pogs.
Oh, Pogs.
Like just everybody skates, but no one's really that good at it except for this guy.
No. Yeah. The one guy who's never around.
For sure. And like what you were just saying a second ago, the aspect ratio. Yeah, it's like watching an old VHS tape.
Exactly.
And that's intentional because the movie is called mid-90s.
It's a fully aesthetic, emotional, visceral experience.
Now, I don't know for a fact that the Academy is definitely going to nominate him for it, but he definitely deserves it, and I think he's got a really good shot of that nom.
That's a fair choice, man. That's really cool. Yeah, I can't argue against that.
No, thank you.
I mean, that movie's at least as good, and he's at least as good as the director of Damien or one of my other choices.
For sure,
and everything.
For sure. Like I mean, and I've said this before about the movie. I don't know if I've said it like through the channel or anything, but I've said it before about the movie that it really more than anything else just makes me excited for whatever he does next.
Yeah, I'm stoked to see it. Way he does. If we get like a crazy good like emotional filmmaker out of Jonah fucking Hill.
Yeah, the fat kid from Superbad.
Yeah, like
who would have thought?
Who would have thought? I mean, we were in a different, not darkest timeline. It's a good timeline, but this is definitely like sub 1985 timeline.
Right.
Yeah, something happened in the past to change this. Not for the bad. I think it's a good thing, but this is a different timeline now.
But we'll see what happens.
Exactly.
So, anyways, moving on. How about Best Actress? Who you got for that?
Okay, I'm gonna be obvious in my choice because I saw the movie 2 days ago.
I'm pretty obvious in my choice.
Yeah,
I feel like anyway.
And there is strong contenders to that, but when I saw this movie, I thought she was the best performance in it, and I was really surprised about it because she's not a traditional actress, and just what this movie did emotionally was really
I know
good.
what you're gonna say.
Yeah, you totally are. I'm gonna call Lady Gaga. I'm gonna do it.
A lot of
Best
people
actress.
are saying that.
Yeah, and that movie, here's the deal. That movie, as it exists on its own, is everything the Academy looks for, and it is a good movie. It's a heavy emotional drama. You know how like people say, "Oh, this movie tugged at my heartstrings." You know that phrase? Mm-hmm. This movie rips out your heartstrings from your chest and chokes you with it.
That's what everybody I've spoken to
It's
about it says.
insane. Now,
I actually haven't seen it. I for a while I was just like didn't care to see it.
yeah, there's a little bit of aesthetic with the fact that Bradley Cooper like writes, directs, and stars in his own movie where he plays a musician and a lead guitar player. Which, by the way, the opening scene is him playing a gig and a bunch of close-ups of him wailing on guitar, and you're like, that's a little bit of an ego thing.
Yeah. The whole thing came off as an ego project.
However,
but then the more that I heard about it,
Yeah.
the more that like I looked into it just because it was relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more that it sounds like it wasn't that, it was much more a passion project. Like he really just painstakingly just sought out every single detail of this.
the heaviness of this movie is. I haven't seen anything compared to this that's not a genre film. The cast,
do love me some
everyone is
genre
spot
films.
on. You love everyone. You know who's good in this movie that you wouldn't think?
I hear Andrew Dice Clay is really
Yes,
good in this
Andrew
movie.
Dice Clay is really good in this movie.
And
It
that's
blows
so
me
weird.
away. It's so, oh, hey, I'm your father over here.
Bada bing.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Get a load of this guy.
But I mean, like, listen, I don't listen to Lady Gaga's music. I'm pretty out of touch when it comes to what the kids are hip to.
Poker face, yeah. Meat suit.
I guess so.
I think even those references are like 5 years old.
To 10 at this point.
we're
However,
old.
I'm not going to act like she's not a fantastic singer. I've
Oh,
seen her.
she can sing.
I've seen her play piano and
She's
sing jazz standards.
she's a classically and jazz trained
yeah, and that's amazing.
musician.
And if she were to do that, that would be enough. But she does that. I was super impressed at the Super Bowl when she jumped from like the top of the thing to the
Right.
bottom of the thing. That was cool. It's got nothing to do with movies. I just thought it was rad.
It's just her performance.
Yeah, and she's a beautiful
as a
lady,
performer.
and I think this is hers. I mean, I do think Viola Davis gave her a run for the money in Widows because I like that movie, even though no one saw it. And it's Viola Davis; she's always awesome. But I think this one's going to go to Lady Gaga.
Fair enough. I mean, like I've heard a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this movie, so I couldn't. Like even though I thought about like nodding towards Lady Gaga, I was like, I can't. I haven't seen it. I can't.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
That's
can't
fair.
actually say
I do
that 'cause
recommend
haven't seen
seeing it for educational purposes.
Yeah, I meant to go this week, but again,
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on to who I did pick, and this is kind of like crossing streams with your director of choice, because I think that it's very possible that it's
Yeah.
going to go to Claire Foy,
Oh man, Claire Foy is great and everything. She's the Queen of England for
who
Christ's sake.
plays Neil Armstrong's wife in First Man.
Sometimes in these movies, you have these strong female leads that are always great performances, but because of the character's usually the wife, even though it's the female
Yeah.
lead, it still comes across as a supporting character.
And I had a problem with that.
Yeah, I do have a problem with that.
She played it great.
Yeah.
It's like it's a choice that the film makes to follow. Like I mean, like of course it's Neil Armstrong. Of course,
And
his
Green Book
stories
does the
yeah.
same thing. Linda Cardellini plays Tony Lip's wife, and she's solid.
Oh
Linda
yeah,
Cardellini's
Linda
awesome.
Cardellini. If you want a good performance, get Linda Cardellini.
Yeah, exactly.
She will always
But
give you
Linda
one.
Cardellini plays a wife who is just very nice and supportive, but it's not integral to the narrative.
Right.
But with First Man and Claire Foy, because
She
so
was
much
integral.
Absolutely, you had to have her.
Yeah.
And I'll make this call. I don't ever make this call. I don't think.
Oh, I got a call to make after you make this call.
I used to work at a. After your call and my call, we'll do a text and then a fax. It'll be fine.
Nobody knows what fax is
Okay,
anymore.
fine, whatever. I learned a long time ago that no one's irreplaceable. I once worked at a restaurant that a chef opened and then the chef got fired and nothing changed.
Yep.
And
That's
I
how
don't
that
believe
goes.
no one's irreplaceable. However, when it comes to Claire Foy in First Man, yeah, that's who you had to have.
Like, oh my God, every scene that she's in, she steals every scene that she's in.
God,
In
it's such
fact,
great.
like I criticized the movie, like going back and thinking about it, like it should have been from her perspective. Like rather than being
that
from
would've been
Neil
so
Armstrong.
cool.
Yeah. Rather than being Neil Armstrong's like story, like we see him going off and doing the thing and we just like get glimpses of her like living at home.
That's an interesting take. I like
I
that.
would have rather it been like maybe you condense the story and just tell it from her point of view, because that's how strong a performance that she gave. And Ryan Gosling is a very talented performer as well. I got nothing bad to say about him. Claire Foy steals the show.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt in my mind that she's going to get a nomination. I don't know if
Yeah.
she's going to win. We haven't even seen the nominations, but I think she's going to get one for sure.
That's not where I thought you were going when you started your thing. When I thought you were going to say Tessa Thompson. Because Tessa Thompson,
yeah.
but Tessa Thompson's just great and everything.
No, I would love to see that. I don't think that kind of performance is what the Academy looks for.
No, I've seen her in 3 movies this year where I've loved every performance, but it's also the Academy has a certain way of doing.
They
things.
do,
Yeah,
and like
which
I'm not
when
gonna.
we
I'm,
get to Best Picture, that's totally what I
and
did.
I'm not going to act like I've cracked the code of the Academy. I don't think that anybody outside of the Academy really has.
Be old and rich.
Yeah,
That's the closest thing. Yeah,
Pretty much, it helps if you're white. Not necessary, but it helps. But based on what I know, about the Academy and like what I've seen them do in the past, that seems like a pretty safe bet. And I think that my next pick is a pretty safe bet as well, and that's getting into Best Actor. Do you want me to just go ahead? Can I just go ahead and say who it is?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Because I don't think you saw this movie. I think I'm the only one in this room who did see this movie. But John C. Reilly and the Sisters Brothers.
Wow, not Joaquin Phoenix and the Sisters Brothers.
Well, he's not the lead. He's not.
Oh, I did not see that.
Well, it's like a dual lead.
Yeah.
But the protagonist is absolutely John C. Reilly.
Wow.
Like he's the guy holding everything together. Like he's the guy who we see the most point of view sequences from, and he's dealing with his crazy ass brother, who is Joaquin Phoenix, along with everything else that he's balancing in his life, and just. It's a performance of a lifetime out of John C. Reilly. Like you see him like have a bit part in Guardians of the Galaxy. You see him play opposite Will Ferrell and like Talladega Nights and Step Brothers. And now he's got like Holmes and Watson coming up, and I'm definitely going to be there for that. Just like put those two guys in a movie.
Christmas Day, you going to Holmes and Watson?
I don't know about if I'm going on Christmas Day, but I'm going.
Christmas Day, I'm going to Vice.
I will be in the theater to see Holmes and Watson because anytime you put those two guys in a movie together,
there's some sort of payoff.
I'm gonna go and check it out just to see what it's about. But you forget that John C. Reilly started as a dramatic actor, and then you see something like this, and you're just like, I can't believe that you're good at comedy too.
Yeah, he's so universal, even though it's just 2 things, drama and comedy. But in modern American cinema, that's really what you need.
Well, he's
to
a
be
great
considered that
character actor
universal.
as well.
Oh,
He can be a fantastic character actor, but he's not in this.
And that movie didn't get much of a release.
It didn't.
It played here for like a week.
It had a lot of things going against it in terms of like mainstream appeal.
Okay.
Like it's a book about the American West pre-Civil War. So like not a whole lot of diversity in it. It does have I can't remember the guy's name. He's a bad guy in Venom. He's actually a pretty big guy. He's in Rogue
Riz
One.
Ahmed.
Riz Ahmed, yeah. Yeah, pretty big name. Like it's him. Also Molly from season 1 of Fargo. She has a small part in it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of nice. But but on top of that, it's got the book was written by a Canadian. Yeah, Canadian writing about the American West.
Of course.
And then the adaptation was a French filmmaker's first American film. And he tackles a movie about the Old West based on a book written by a Canadian. You put all those things in the same sentence, it doesn't spell out box office smash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I can't recommend the movie strongly enough. It was a fantastic Western, but it's just a fantastic movie in general. Everybody in the movie is great. Jake Gyllenhaal puts in a great performance.
That guy makes me nervous in movies.
Because of Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
But he's a really solid dude in this.
That's why he makes me nervous is because of like how good he is.
Yeah. Yeah. Just everybody in the movie is great, but John C. Reilly just steals the show. Like talk about embodying a character, talking about bringing a character to life. Like you believe that these are who these people are. You believe that this is where you are, and you believe this is what he's going through. And I'm sure that the Academy wouldn't give John C. Reilly an Oscar unless they absolutely had to.
No, I don't see it happening. But
I would not be surprised to see his name in the nominations.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good assessment. I wish I saw that movie, man.
Oh man,
it sounds awesome.
Can't recommend it enough.
I don't know what else was out that week that I went and saw, but I guess something.
The only
happened.
theater that was playing it was all the way on the other side of town. There's nothing we could do.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, how about your pick?
My best actor is I'm gonna go with Viggo Mortensen. I saw Green Book the other day. I really loved it. I thought he really immersed himself in the character. It's based on a real person, Tony Lip, and he does gain weight. The performance that doesn't automatically make it a better performance, but it helps. And just the transformation his character goes throughout the movie is impressive, and the way he works with Mahershala Ali in that. I know we're not talking about best supporting, but
he's up there too.
I think he's going to get another one. I know he got one for Moonlight. He's getting another one.
Oh yeah.
I'm straight up calling it. I'm not calling nomination.
Oh, that guy. That guy's a force.
I'm calling trophy. That dude is getting a trophy of best supporting actor for this movie.
And that's a shame because that's another movie that it has officially released wide, like it is playing everywhere. That's one that I was going to go and see this week too.
It was great.
But the box office is just.
I think everyone's taking it easy right now, box office wise, and we're gonna see a big push closer to Christmas.
I mean, pretty much like. Well, I mean, it dropped on Thanksgiving weekend along with Creed 2 and Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, that's kind of rough to kind of battle against. Maybe it'll do better this weekend.
It's definitely like an indie darling type movie. I mean, like it could have legs. It could pick up. I mean, like once the awards chatter starts up, which we're kind of like trying to get on the ground floor of that. Like that movie is by all accounts, that's a movie that's going to be talked about once the awards chatter starts up.
Not just for subject matter, if I may, for a second. The director's Peter Farrelly, who was part of the Farrelly brothers who made Dumb and Dumber.
Something
I
About
couldn't believe
Mary.
he made this like historical, emotional
Stand
drama.
by Me, or not Stand by Me.
Stuck with you.
Stuck with you.
Stuck
That's
on
it.
you.
Yeah. How'd they get Matt Damon for that? But anyways, like I think that's one that you could see a spike for it once those awards chatters like all the way come out.
It's in the conversation.
Just because like once those talks start happening, those movies that have real shots at being in those categories, people will go out to see them again.
Oh yeah,
people
totally.
say it's like, well, I got to be in the know. I got to know what's
you gotta
going
know
on.
what's going on. And it's weird because I was looking at the research for this. I'm still looking at movies that like were so indie that only played in LA and New York, and foreign films that I was like, man, these are movies that only the Academy knows about.
Right.
So it's
there's
still a
handful of
little
those.
hard to do that. There's a
Because
handful.
all you got to do is run for a week. I think you have to
Yeah.
run for a week in Los Angeles, and then you're qualified to be nominated.
That's what puts the Ballad of Buster Scruggs in competition, even though
That's-
it's really a Netflix movie.
That's why they did that.
Yeah.
Like Netflix is they've started doing that this year, I believe. I don't think they did this last year.
They're doing it for that and one other movie and Bird Box with Sandra Bullock.
I was gonna say there were a handful of movies they did that for, and that's
Yeah.
why, because they wanted to be in awards contention.
And word hasn't gone out yet. I know Scorsese was pushing it for The Irishman. And
Man, he's been making that movie longer than Tool's been working on their last album.
yeah, but I think we're in post now.
Oh well, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank God, because I really want to see that movie. I'm
I think
just
we're seeing
tired of
sometime
hearing
next
about
year.
it. I want to see it.
We've been hearing about it for like 10 years.
But I mean, like if we're talking about pictures, let's just move into Best Picture. Who you got?
I'm going to be obvious. Star is Born. It's the type of movie the Academy will love. It's a heavy emotional drama that doesn't necessarily play it safe with a fantastic cast with everyone bringing their A game, but something that still everyone can relate to in some way. Mm-hmm. And I just see the Academy just eating it up.
The Academy does love that shit.
Yeah, and it's just got that talk, and everyone just loves it. And I can see why. It's not my favorite movie of the year.
Right.
I'm probably closer to you. I like genre movies. Like we talk a lot about like Overlord.
Yeah, love me some genre movies.
And if I had my way, A Quiet Place will win everything. That movie was so good. But I just see it working on so many levels.
I hear John Krasinski for director could be in that conversation.
That was my going to be my honorable mention for best director.
That's
and
a good
also,
honorable mention.
Best original screenplay. I was going to. That was good. Yeah.
Good for that too.
It was good for that. But I just see A Star is Born getting everything.
You can just see Brad Cooper up there taking the Oscar, just with that like perfect chiseled face. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe this is
Yes, you
happening
did.
to
You
me.
manufactured this, but like
yes, you can, Brad. Yes,
and
you
you
can.
know what? I'm not going to act like you didn't make something amazing. It's a really good movie, but it's universal enough that the entire Academy can dig it, but artistic enough that it deserves merit.
Right.
And it's a good movie. I enjoy it. I don't know in 5 years if we're going to talk about it more. Like, for all its credit, and this movie is good too, no one talks about Argo anymore. And that was the movie of the year when it came out.
That one won a lot of awards.
It won Best Picture,
But
Best Director.
what happened is afterwards, Ben Affleck made Live by Night, which ironically
Not a lot of Living by Night in that movie.
happens an awful lot during the day. And then afterwards, he did the Batfleck thing. And I really like his portrayal as Batman.
I love him as Batman.
But he just chose the wrong franchise to be a part of, to be Batman.
Yeah.
Not his fault.
But then again, like no one talks about Argo as its own movie, and that was a good movie. I feel like there's Academy movies that work well for a year and a half. But over the test of time, different types of movies work.
Oh yeah, if you go through and like, because here's the thing, if we're talking about the Oscars, if you go back through the ages and look at everybody that's ever won, I mean, sure, you do have stuff like Casablanca that's up there, but then you also have like nothing movies that no one's heard of. And I didn't look any of these up because I didn't fucking feel like it, because why would I?
You know who's got a bunch of Oscars? Barbara Streisand. You know what movies they were for? Me neither. I don't know.
Case in point.
Yeah. I feel like there should be something separate besides the Oscars, which is every year, was they do something like every
Like the Golden
decade.
Globes?
No, it's still every year. I want something like every decade. Like, so for this teen years, by 2012, we have an award ceremony for just the movies that came out between 2010 and 2019.
You're never going to sell that space for that. It's never going to happen.
No, we need the Alberts. We need the Alberts. We need something that can, even if it's just a list, the movies that were the best movies of this decade, because you need perspective on a lot of movies to decide what's the best.
I'm not going to say that you're wrong. I'm just going to say that it's never going to happen.
Oh yeah, no, it exists in Chadland and nowhere else.
Well, it sounds like a great place. Anyways, my best pick, and this is the only one on my list that I really got to put an asterisk next to because it may very well not be nominated. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to say it probably won't be nominated. However, if it did get nominated, it would be the first Netflix film to ever get nominated.
Ooh.
And of course, I'm talking about the Coen Brothers' Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
That is a good movie.
I really enjoyed it.
It's quintessentially Coen Brothers.
I'm a longtime Coen Bros fan.
Yeah.
So like I'm an easy audience to please. If the Coen Brothers put something out, it could be terrible and I'd still be like, wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. But no, like this movie has a lot to say. It does a lot of things very well. The cinematography is beautiful. Performances all around. The Coens just have a way of getting the best performances out of anybody who's working with them. It's got all the people that you want to see in it, like Stephen Root. Like, of course, Stephen Root comes back around. One of my favorite Coen Bros roles from him. Like, he somehow finds a way to outdo, like, the blind man in the radio,
which is
getting
crazy.
people to sing into a tin can.
Oh, that guy is the best character actor of any time ever.
And the Coen Bros know exactly how to use him.
Absolutely perfect.
I didn't think a single segment was weak.
No. Tim Blake Nelson as Buster Scruggs. Oh
my God, what was that?
I don't know. I texted the same thing to Aaron, but I texted you last night. It was this. I'm 5 minutes into Buster Scruggs, and I decided what if my pastor growing up was a cowboy?
Just like whenever he walks into that like outlaw saloon and he like pats his jacket.
Which one? The first one or the second one?
The first one.
Okay,
and he pats his jacket and there's like the dust.
Is an outline of his.
It's like, what am I watching?
Everything he says. And the thing is, when he takes, this is a little spoiler territory, when he takes a dude out, because he doesn't have a gun, the guy pulls a gun on him, and basically Buster
table
Scruggs
scene.
kicks the table
scene.
and the table goes up, hits the guy's hand, and shoots himself, not once, but like 5 times. And he's got the line that says, well, sometimes in the West, when you ain't got your pistol hand, you got to be comedic about how you take care of problems. It's like, who says that?
And that's the last point that I'm going to make about this movie before we move on, is that the movie is filled with Coen Bros dialogue.
Oh, it's perfect.
Just filled with Coen Bros dialogue.
Oh my God.
And no lie, I don't think this movie is going to win. I don't think it deserves to win. I think it's possible that it gets nominated, and if it does get nominated, that would be huge because it would be the first Netflix film to be in that category.
I think it's bold of Netflix to release their films in theaters so that they can be considered for Oscar contenders.
Exactly. That's why I was glad that you brought that up.
However, the Academy usually takes their time when coming on to trends. I think even though this is a good movie, it's a worthy movie, it's going to be a minute before the Academy officially recognizes something like a movie off Netflix.
And that's true. Like I would honestly, as much as I hate to say it, I will be surprised if it's on the list, but I would love to see it there. And if it did end up there, I think that it would be there, like, it would be there with merit. It would deserve to be on that list. I mean, there's 10 best pictures nowadays. I'm sure we can think of 9 other ones, but like when you're trying to fill out 10 movies for your list, at some point, you got to throw Netflix a bone whenever they made something as good as Buster Scruggs.
It's hard to make lists about movies in general. You said I had to pick one. You know how hard that was?
It was tough.
We didn't talk about John Krasinski at all, and I really wanted to talk about that movie.
We talked about him a little bit. It was tough. But
it was a tough decision to make.
But as far as that goes, that brings us to, like, who will be snubbed and who won't be snubbed. And what I mean by that is, who's somebody that people might think it's a snub if they're not listed, but it's not really because, no, they didn't deserve it. Like, if you were to say, oh, I can't believe Assassination Nation didn't get nominated for blah, blah, blah.
That's not a surprise.
That's not a snub. Well, for one, maybe they did deserve it for some things. I'm not getting into that right now. But it's not a surprise, exactly.
I can see as much as I wish Sorry to Bother You to do well. I can see it getting snubbed somewhere.
I got him on my list as maybe Boots. I think it would be a travesty.
I think mainly think it's going to get snubbed because the box office wasn't large. I was impressed by Widows. It was a good movie, and Viola Davis is solid, but no one's going to see it right now, so I think no one's going to give it any credit.
But I mean, like that's a bit of a false equivalency though, because Sorry to Bother You has made a cultural splash. Like people are chirping about that movie. People are talking about it. Not just us. I mean, we did go listen to it, but a lot of people are talking about that movie. But still, I do have maybe Boots, and man, I would be so upset. I'm gonna flip a table and swear off the Oscars forever until next year if that happens. I do have John Krasinski down here. I hope it's not the case.
I hope it's not too genre for the Academy.
But I do have John Krasinski in the Quiet Place on here.
Do you have Spike Lee on there?
Spike Lee's on here.
Right on. Yeah, that was a great movie.
It was good. Man, I like that movie an awful lot. I don't think that Spike Lee deserves to be nominated for an Oscar for it, though. I don't think that's the kind of stuff that, for one, I don't think that it's the kind of thing that the Oscars look for whenever they're choosing their best picture. Mm-hmm. And as much as I enjoy the movie, I don't know that it deserves to be like alongside stuff like A Star Is Born.
Do you think it would get something like Best Adapted Screenplay, considering it's based on real life events?
I could see that now.
Okay, yeah.
I could see that for sure.
But is that like a consolidation
and I would say like,
or is it like fair?
Well, no, absolutely not. Like sometimes like your idea is so good that even if the execution doesn't quite live up to it, like the idea in itself is worth awarding.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that movie. I just don't think it's the type of movie that warrants that type of recognition. Possibly.
Is
that what you're saying?
It's like look at the Oscars track record. Even though they've been trying to take a lot more chances nowadays, like look at their track record. It's just not the kind of movie that they like, that they tend to nod towards.
That's not to say that people should not go watch that if they haven't seen it. They should totally go see that movie.
Oh yeah, even if you have been following Boots Riley and his distaste for it.
I feel exactly. That's a whole nother discussion. But I feel like all these movies we discuss, people should see.
Whole nother thing. But what do you think about, because this is the last thing I want to talk about as far as Oscars go before we move on to the last topic. What about like people are talking about, well, maybe the Russos should be up for Best Director, or maybe Black Panther should be up for best picture, stuff like that.
I feel like I'm going to do an Academy prediction and then my own thoughts. Academy prediction is they're not probably going to do much because as much of a culmination of Infinity War is for the Russos.
It's very impressive direction.
It's impressive direction, but that's based on fandom solely of what's been building to for 10 years. Not the movie as it exists by itself.
Yeah, exactly. Like if it weren't for the 10 years of movies that we had before it, there'd be no reason to have this stuff that we're trying to balance.
And I feel like the Academy still judges a movie on its own merit. Black
Special
Panther,
effects, though? Special effects? Sound design? Oh, absolutely.
Like, dude, special effects is a weird category. Like, dude, Solo is going to get nominated for special effects just because it's a Star Wars movie.
Even though the special effects were meh.
Yeah. Venom might get nominated. And then Solo wasn't a good
handful
movie.
Of scenes.
Maybe. But, and same with Black Panther. That was a good movie. It was a big
costume design.
Costume design.
Sure.
Had a large cultural impact as it stands on its own.
Best picture? No.
Ryan Coogler might get nominated as best director. Maybe.
He might. I don't
think best picture, but comic book movies are judged in the same way often that animated movies are.
But like the question that I'm trying to ask is like, okay, no, they're not going to get nominated, but let's just say if they did. Mm-hmm. Would they deserve it? Because I mean, like, here's the thing.
That's tricky.
Is what the Russos did impressive?
My favorite kid.
Is it impressive? Yeah, but do they deserve a Best Director nomination for it? Probably not.
Probably not.
Not in the context of like what the Academy likes to go towards. Mostly just because like the only reason what they did is impressive is because they have 10 years worth of shit to work with.
Yeah, and they only did
that's it.
Work on a couple of those.
Right.
Yeah.
And for Black Panther, it was a good movie, but honestly, like the biggest faults of that movie, are that it has to play into the Marvel formula.
Yeah.
That it has the big CG fight scene at the end where it's just
it's these things it has to do.
Yeah, where
it's directed well.
It essentially becomes an animation for a second because there's no actual people or location.
It's directed well. It's got a fantastic villain. It's got a great supporting cast, but it is hindered by the fact that it's be a Marvel movie. I'm going to take one a step further. Plus, even if it did overcome these things that we're talking about. I don't think people give enough credit because of comic book movies, which happens a lot to animated movies.
It does.
You're not going to hear a discussion with Best Director involving Brad Bird because he made Incredibles 2, which is animated.
I mean, that was a really good movie, but Best Director?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I do love Brad Bird's direction and most things he does. It's so good.
Of course. I mean, like, I've loved Brad Bird ever since The Simpsons.
Oh God, Brad Bird. I want to have like a coffee with that guy.
There's a lot of people in Hollywood I'd like to have a coffee with.
Yeah, it was good. But even if it was good, if it was Incredibles 2 good, at most you're gonna get best animation.
Yeah, and it'll be up for
Best
that.
graphics
It'll be
or
up for
something.
that. But I mean, let's get real.
But
as good as that movie was, it was not as good as the first one.
That's true, and that does. I do want to say this thing, and then we can move on. Genre flicks, including the stuff that we like, comic book movies and animation, don't get as much credit as standard dramas.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I would agree with that.
And,
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I don't know that we had anything come out this year in either of those formats that deserves a Best Picture nom. Maybe a Best Director nom, but I don't think a Best Picture nom.